And now for the man of the hour. Rob is the host of the Open Sky Fitness podcast, along with his beautiful wife, Devon. Devon. Rob is a lifestyle and fitness expert based out of Los Angeles. He specializes in helping busy people and entrepreneurs get out from behind their desks and carve out time to create a better quality of life for themselves and their family. You might have heard Rob recently on the Side Hustle podcast or Million Pound Mission podcast, discussing his views on why the traditional approach to weight loss is a waste of time. Rob, are you ready to rock this house, man?
I'm ready to rock. Let's do this.
He's ready to rock. Awesome. Dude, you are now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thank you so much for joining us today, brother.
Thank you, bud, for having me. I really appreciate this. I've been looking forward to this for weeks now.
Yes.
We've been, I got to commend you, man. Hat is off to the amount of work that you put into your show. I do not have the internal drive to do it the way that you do it. I do consider myself a go-getter, but this is the fact that you go all day, 12 hours, bananas, dude.
Thank you.
Bananas.
Thank
It's
you,
good
man.
stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And we're going to dive into your journey and what you're working on, how you're impacting people with Open Sky Fitness in just a second. And before there, and I'm sure this topic is going to hit very close home to you, the theme of today is mother's love. And I know you guys are expecting a child coming soon, and you know, I want to hear, how has that concept, the philosophy of mother's love, impacted you in your life growing up, and also how you show up for your clients, how you show up with your wife. Tell us about the world of that and what that means for you.
Oh, well, I mean, geez, just in terms of the fact that we're going to become parents, the fact that my wife is going to become a mom, blows my mind. Yeah. I think, you know, it's interesting because we waited a long time to have kids. We all of our friends all around us, everybody's got kids. I'm 41. I won't tell you how old my wife is. Probably not a cool thing to do, but we waited until we were in our late 30s and early 40s to do this. And it was just because I think it was, you know, there was, as you grow, you think, I just want to be financially secure. And then I think as we got older and as we then decided to have kids, I think it was more about, are we psychologically ready to take on this project?
That's right.
Really bring a human being into this world and not just like catapult them in and hope that everything works out well. Like we had to do some work on ourselves. And you know, this is the thing, I think, in terms of generations from parents passed down to you. It's like, what was I missing as a kid that I want to make sure that we make up for with our kids? So there's a lot of learning there. And I'm happy to dive into any of that area because it's such an important thing to really find the tools and teach the tools to our children that we really do deem to be the most important in this world.
So I'm curious, do you feel like it was more of your wife's decision or initiative to wait and prepare, or was it more of yours?
You know what? I think in any good partnership, that is a equal decision. I think we were, you know, it was almost like, when do you want to have kids? I don't know. Do you feel ready? I don't really know. And then there was eventually there was this conversation around, I think maybe next year is the right time. And then we kept getting closer to next year. It's like, do you feel the same way? Yeah, I still feel the same way. And it was like, we just kept on ticking towards that time. And then it was the question of, well, we waited so long. I mean, I hope that all my boys swim, you know, like I hope that, you know, like everything is working right. You know, we've been together 18 years, you know, we were together 17 years, I think, when we got pregnant. And it's pretty insane to think I've been with somebody that long and we never got pregnant along the way.
Right.
But once we tried, I tell you this right now, once we were like literally tried and did it like full on, it was literally, we were able to, within a couple of months, we were pregnant and rocking and rolling.
That's awesome. That's so cool, man.
Pretty cool.
So cool. So we'll be diving into that even more. And I want to get our audience more connected to who you are and what you're all about in the world. So thanks for sharing that. And again, we'll dive in even more. So tell us more about your business and what you're working on, man.
Well, my business is Open Sky Fitness. I've been a personal trainer in Los Angeles for about 11, 12 years now. Okay. I was doing that for a really long time, filled up my client list, which I'm super excited about. However, I realized as a business person, you know, you do a lot of coaching. As a business person, there's a ceiling to how much money you make.
Yep.
Whether I raise my prices to an astronomical rate, and there's still going to be a certain amount of hours in the day, which means that I'm going to have to figure out how can I expand out from there? How can I make this exponential? I want to be able to make enough money that I don't have to work around the clock. If you're a personal trainer, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I start training clients 5:30, and then I'm done at 6 p.m. Come home and then eat dinner. I'm in bed by 8:39 in order to get like a nice 8-hour night of sleep. And that's a rinse and repeat for me. Totally. So bringing a kid into this world, that was also one of the reasons why I really started diving into the online world. How do I navigate these waters and build a lifestyle that allows me to be a little more of a stay-at-home dad and more of a present father, and gives my wife also the leeway to take some time off. So that's something that we're working on. I'm not going to say that it's 100% there because I still do train clients in Los Angeles, fairly frequent. I mean, almost every day. But it is a process building these things and chipping away at them. And as you know, it's not easy. Sometimes you think you got it figured out and then you get the rug pulled out from under you. And that's just a lesson in life, right? Sometimes we just feel like we have stuff figured out. And then the next thing we know, we're on our butt, and we just realize life just served us up an amazing lesson.
That's right.
So this has been a journey.
You're mainly focused on in-person, and now you're more leverage and scale. And I know you have your podcast. Tell us about some of the things that you're doing to leverage and scale your efforts.
Well, in order to one of the things I learned early on in my career is that unless you are the expert amongst the circle that people don't look at you as a person they want to go to when they're in that time of need, right? So everybody that knows me knows what I do. So if they think, oh, I need some help with losing weight, I need some help putting on some muscle, I just need help getting my lifestyle in order, I can go to Rob and ask him. So that's been something that I've really learned how to do at an earlier time in my personal training career. That's like in person. So one of the things, as my client roster filled up and I realized I need to figure out a way that I can broaden this out to a larger audience, not just people in Los Angeles. I contacted a friend of mine and I said, hey man, my buddy Alec, I said, would you be interested in producing my YouTube channel? And he looks at me and he goes, look, it's a lot to edit videos and it's just a lot of time. He goes, what do you think about doing a podcast? And this was 2013. I was like, what's a podcast? And so he sent me some links. He actually hosted the How I Met Your Mother podcast at the Sony studios and said, hey man, come here. I have all the equipment. We'll put together a show. We invited a buddy of mine who was my college roommate, who I had helped lose 20 pounds as like a client that never really paid me, but he was like a before and after guy for me. I trained him for free and then got some fantastic results. He learned a ton about himself, but then we started doing a show together. And we kind of launched it from there. And that was 2013. And so as I started to do that, I started realizing I'm positioning myself as an authority. And now how do I leverage that authority to the fans and the listeners of our show and try to create a career out of this? And that is hands down, like if there's anybody making money at podcasting, it's the people that are teaching people how to make money at podcasting more than anything. If you want to know, it's like somebody selling you a treasure map and shovels, and saying, here's $100, I'll sell you this treasure map and these shovels. And I'm like, why the hell don't you just go and dig it up yourself if there's treasure there? It's like, but they don't know how to do that. They just know how to sell it to the people who are willing to put in all the work and do that. Right. Who knows if that treasure map will ever get you there? That's the journey, when it comes to being an entrepreneur who really is seeking to improve people's lives. That's my goal, is to improve people's lives, to really have an impact. Which I think I do. I'm pretty confident that I do. Yes. But also then figure out how to leverage that into some kind of business that I can make money on, and there's always this thing when you start out in social media and you start out as a person who's giving, you have to just give without expecting. Totally. You have to give everything There's this, I don't know if there's a saying, but I'm sure there is, but there's this way of thinking when it comes to marketing is like, give everything away for free. Because if you give everything away for free, then people, all they want to do is they just want you to just hold their hand through that process, because it is a lot of information when it comes to making money online. It's a really difficult thing to do. When it comes to getting healthy, it's a really difficult thing to do, but there are really simple strategies that you can execute. And it's so much easier if you've just had somebody who's been down that road.
Right.
And so what I do is I just basically hold people's hands down that road. And now I'm trying to like leverage all of that knowledge, all of that information into more of an online business career, which, that's the journey. And
yeah, well, what I hear is as well is the one-on-one like hand holding is also accountability. They have to show up to someone who they look up to. The client looks up to the service provider. Our clients look up to us, and it's like, we get to provide that service for you. And you could have gotten this anywhere. You could have got this information online. You could have searched on Google, but you chose us because we had the personality, we had the the reputation, we had the trust factor, whatever it is. And I'm curious what it takes to duplicate that level of accountability and personalization that people are willing to pay for at the one-to-one level into online programs. And I think that's something we're constantly figuring out.
Well, I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing, because so the way that I start, I think everybody who's going to be going into the coaching world needs to start out doing one-on-one. Yes. You really need to get your feet wet, learning what people's problems are and understanding and creating an empathy for that client, right? Mm-hmm. Some people do it in a different way. There's this guy, Drew Manning, who actually might be a really great interview for you, who started a company called Fit to Fat to Fit. And basically he was a personal trainer who was working with clients. This trainer had never been overweight in his life. He's never struggled with his diet. He's never struggled with like depression or anything, and said to his clients, okay, look, yes, you're right. I don't know what it's like to be obese. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to gain as much possible weight as I can gain in 6 months. He gained 75 pounds. And then I'm going to spend the next 6 months losing it. And I'm going to show you that even if you're 75, or even if you're X amount of weight over, you can get down to it. And he did it. And so what he did was he created the empathy for himself, because he couldn't have the empathy for people who were 300 pounds, who just couldn't get it together. And that's a great strategy. For me, I don't necessarily want to go down that road, but I also do struggle with my weight. Like I don't struggle to that degree, like 75 pounds, but I struggle with like 20 to 30 pounds on a regular basis. Yeah. And for me, a lot of it is psychological. For me, a lot of it has to do with how I grew up and what my family life was and the foods that I was eating and basically my lifestyle dynamic. But at the same time, I understand that about myself. And I really do. I know how I respond to certain things. So I have to, on a consistent basis, have a adult to child conversation with my inner self, which I think is the most helpful thing. And so what I do with my clients is I try to help them create that. And this is almost like a therapist thing, but at the same time, it transcends everything, from health to business to relationships, everything. You need to be able to have that adult conversation with yourself, down to that child who's making poor decisions because they might be sabotaging because they can't handle the pressure. They might be upset because of certain things that have come up in their career or their relationships. And the way that they deal with it is they comfort themselves. And that comfort is something from the past, who eventually rears its ugly head in the present time and doesn't allow them to achieve the thing that they want most in life, which is usually to be healthy, to be happy, to be the weight that they've always wanted to be, to have the relationships they've always wanted. And you'll notice, and I notice, as I dive into this more on the one-on-one scale, because you become someone's confidant, best friend, kind of this mentor. Right. And the more that you learn from them, the more that you realize as they start to really make the impact in their life to be healthier and making themselves a top priority, oh my God, the doors that open for them are unbelievable. Job opportunities, new relationships keep popping up, friends come up. People are coming to them now because they see how much they've changed their demeanor and and they're like, you're losing weight, you look amazing, what are you doing? And it just makes them feel better, and they have all this new energy and this kind of new lease on life. And that's an amazing process. And so as I work with people one-on-one and I see that, I get so excited about it. And now I can kind of understand how to take that into the group environment and how a community can also have that same effect. Right. Well, your family is a community. right? Your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, your grandmother who lives there, your uncle who lives across the street, all this, that's your community. If your community is supportive of you succeeding at whatever it is that you're interested in doing, whether it's business, relationships, your weight, your whatever, you're doing a triathlon, whatever it is, if they're like, how's it going? How you doing? Oh, it's not going so great today. That's okay. You could do it. What's the problem? Let me help you. Let me see. Oh, you're having a problem with this. Let me see if I can call that person. Or, you know what? That happened to me last time. Here's what I did. Yes. And that's what a community can do for you.
Unstoppable.
Makes you unstoppable.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've built. That's what I've moved into, is like building that community. You have just this main street of amazing people who are just crushing it in their own bubble of their life. And then what the bigger bubble is them in my community. And that's something that I'm really jazzed up about. That's something that I love doing. And that's actually, that's my SkyFit challenge. That's the thing that's like, I've been doing this now for almost we're on 9 months now. And we have people who have been there since the beginning and lost I think one of our people have lost 46 pounds in
awesome.
in the last 9 months. It's
that's
it's
awesome.
Amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's pretty cool.
Very cool, man. So I want to go back a little bit. This is awesome. We're getting in some really good stuff. And I want to go back to some challenging moments, some rock bottom moments when you had to figure out who you were, what your character was, some character defining moments in your life. And let's share about that with our audience so they can get an insight that, Rob wasn't always this powerhouse dude, unstoppable, able to face any challenge that comes his way.
I don't know if I categorize myself. It's that, maybe from the outside it looks like I'm unstoppable.
Just own it, Rob. Own it.
Yeah, I'll take it. But it's, it's interesting. When I first moved to Los Angeles, I moved to Los Angeles to be an actor. And I spent, from the time I was 18 years old until I was 30 years old, my life was about being a successful actor. I went to a conservatory for 4 years. I trained in England for a summer. I moved to New York City right after college for 3 years. First year out, flew out to Los Angeles to test for a pilot, booked a play that was like this off-Broadway play that was by the original director of The Elephant Man on Broadway. Wow. I was doing really well in the beginning, going out on auditions crazy. Younger version of me, much more handsome than I am now. But the thing that happened is that I thought it was all going to come. And so I got a real taste of it very early on. And I thought it was just a matter of time. And so the years kept ticking by. And as that would happen, the only way that I was making money was as a waiter. And I didn't, bartending, managing restaurants, things like that. And I was in New York for 3 years. I came out here for pilot season 1 year, and I fell in love with Los Angeles. And I went back to New York. It was February. It was freezing in New York, like slush on the ground, hail. And I said to my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, I said, look, I'd love for you to come with me. I don't know what this is going to be like, but I'm telling you right now, the lifestyle in Los Angeles is so much better than the lifestyle here in New York. And if we're talking about making it in the film business, that's the place to be. And so she was like, she took a little bit of time. I didn't rush her. It took about 6 months to say, if you're in, let me know. Yeah. And after about 3 months, she's like, let's do this. And then we moved out that summer, moved to Los Angeles. And I watched as I got jobs, trying to become trying to do my thing. I saw all the waiters and the bartenders and the people, the valets, all these people in Los Angeles that were working the job and then trying to be an actor. And I saw people at 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, all doing that same thing. Wow. And it's just, for me, it was like, I don't know if I can deal with that. I don't know if I can deal with another 10 years of not being financially stable, not feeling secure, not feeling feeling constantly vulnerable, like being turned down on a consistent basis. And so for me, when you talk about what was that hardest part was 12 years of putting all of my eggs into that basket, going, all right, what do I do now? And personal training was something that I had just started doing. Maybe I was about a year in, and I was like, okay, I can see making a business out of this. I know I want to be healthy. I know I need to change my current lifestyle. So I'm gonna transition here, and I'm gonna move away from it. And I knew I was good at I knew I was good at motivation. I knew I was good at working out and helping people get healthy. I knew I had those qualities. And I knew that was very passionate about being successful at business. Doesn't matter how good you are at business when you're an actor. It's always about who basically is your friend, who you know, and then whether or not you're lucky enough to be in the room.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So for me, that was the moment where I'm like, all right, right now I'm on three paths. I'm personal training, I'm waiting tables, and I'm an actor. I'm going to get off the waiting tables and the actor path, and I'm going to just focus on the personal trainer path. And then I never looked back since then. Never. If a friend of mine asked me to do a movie or do like a webinar thing, a web series or something, I'll do that. And I've done that, but I don't focus on it. I do not try to make money at it. In fact, now it creates a whole bunch of anxiety for me, because if I try to like go back to that lifestyle, it's like, oh my God, that fear of being rejected. I don't like that feeling. So I just focus on doing this. I'm good on the mic. I'm good in front of the camera, in front of my computer. But other than that, I do not have any desire to go back to that life. So that was a big transition. That was 12 years of my life dedicated to going to college for, and then just deciding to move on to the next.
What skills or gifts do you think that dedication and relentless pursuit gave you to serve you into your personal training and into today's career?
Wait, what skills? Okay. So as an actor, come on. I used to talk like this. I was from New York. That was do you want a cup of coffee, or what can I do for you? Like that. That's how my family talks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm from Long Island, man. Like that's how my family talks. So I used to come back from college after speech classes, and my brother-in-law would go, coffee. You want coffee? It's coffee, Rob. It's coffee, and it's like they would make fun of me and how I would talk. So basically now I don't mind. I understand how to tell a story. That's something I learned as an actor. I understand performance, energy, how to put on a show, what people are looking for. And so I can deliver on that stuff. It also in the room, when it comes to like meeting people, it's easier for me to turn it on than I think for most people. So in terms of that background, I think that really does help. Other than that, I've got a degree in breathing, and like, and yoga and whatever it is. But other than that, that was about it. Yeah. Waiting tables. I understand. Don't be a jackass to your waiter, be a nice person at all times, and people will take care of you. That's basically the lessons I learned through the previous careers.
That's awesome. Do you think you would have learned being kind and nice to people if you wouldn't have been waiting tables?
I think everybody needs to wait tables for at least 6 months out of their life.
Yeah.
I think Devon and I went out to dinner recently with a client, and he was unbelievably rude to the waiter. And it was just like, it was so painful because this is a client. We got to be nice to the client. Right. But like the waiter walks over and he's just like, yeah, I'll just have the steak. Yeah, that's fine. How would you like that cooked? I don't know, medium rare, like, okay. And he's like, yeah, that's it. That's all I want, and it's like, oh my God, geez, he's only here to make you happy. The guy's only job is there to make you happy. And you're just being a douche. Like, why would you do that? So I just don't understand people that are mean to waiters and waitresses. I get it if they're like messing up all the time, but chances are if they're messing up, it's because they're so unbelievably, in the weeds that they just can't keep up. And it's so overwhelming to be a waiter. Now, there's definitely terrible waiters out there that are complete morons. But, that's probably like 1 out of 10 waiters that you'll ever have.
Right.
And anyway,
if you can just show up with some compassion and like let them know that you care. I was with my girlfriend. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and this waiter had like a ring on it and with a coin on his ring. And I was like, hey, that's an interesting ring. Like, what does it mean to you? And he just like stops and he looks at it. He's like, man, he like starts tearing up. He's like, my dad gave this to me. And it's like, he collects coins, and his dad collects coins and gave his children these like gifts, these like heirloom kind of things, like these sacred gifts to the family. And it just like, for us to notice those things and to be kind and to slow down in our like constant hustle and bustle world, and remember that we're dealing with people, it's really powerful.
Yeah, everybody's out there just trying to get by, you
Yeah.
know. We're all just trying to get by without kind of, making anybody else's life worse. So, I mean, it's really all it is. Just be a good person. If it means if you want to improve your life, get to it. Start improving your life. There's nothing worse than just running a racket, having the same story over and over again, and not taking action on actually and implementing the new things. And that's a struggle for me too. There's definitely things that I complain about that I know I need to change, that I need to get on. But, it depends. If it's something, it's been years, 20 years, and, like whether it be I got to get started at this business, or I got to lose 50 pounds, or whatever it is, it's like, well, if it's not happening, it's nobody else's fault but yours.
That's right.
But just, don't make your life miserable and everybody around you because things aren't working out for you. Just even, asking for help is totally cool too. Some people just don't want to do that. They feel like they got to run it all on their own, the whole race from start to finish. They got to run the race by themselves. And that's sometimes the best people. I'll tell you this right now, like the best business people I've ever met in my career. And I train people that are worth billion, like $1 billion, like they are the best at delegating out stuff. They are the best at creating teams.
Yep.
Like they are so good at just being, and then, oh my God. Okay. So I go to, this is maybe 4 or 5 years, or maybe 6 years now at this point, right? Is the Lakers versus the Celtics. It's in Los Angeles. I'm not a big sports fan, but anyway, one of my clients calls me, goes, "Hey Rob, what are you doing on Tuesday night? And, or Thursday night?" And I was like, "Nothing. I got nothing planned." He goes, "All right, keep that open." Calls me back like an hour later. "We got tickets, Celtics, Lakers, game 7 at the Staples Center."
Wow.
We're sitting like 8 rows up center.
Wow.
The tickets must have been like $4,000 a piece, right? Woo. He brings me and a buddy of ours, right? So the three of us are like watching this game, amazing. The Lakers, they win right at the end of the game, like right at the buzzer. The whole place explodes. There's confetti falling. Everybody's going bananas. It's pandemonium. We look at each other. We got to get out of here, because when a city wins a game like that, like the whole entire place erupts, and there's like riots, people flipping cars, like all kinds of stuff, especially in downtown Los Angeles. Yep. So we book out of there, and we're trying to find we have a limo driver, right? That's how we roll. So we're like looking for our limo driver, and my buddy Cedar is on the phone with the limo driver, and he's trying to figure out, this is like the GPS, like where is this guy? Right. And we're running around the streets, and my client is behind me. And some guy asked my buddy Cedar, who's on the phone, he's like, "Hey man," and he's like, "Sorry, I gotta keep going." And like the homeless guy comes to me, and he's like, "Hey man," I'm like, "Sorry, I'm with him. We're just trying to find our ride." And then he's like, "Hey man," to my client behind me, and my client just goes, "Hey, what's up, man? What do you need?" And it was just like the whole world stopped. Wow. Like this homeless guy on the street, whole world stopped. And I like turn around and I look, and I'm like, "What's happening right now?" And the guy's like, it's just been like a tough day, man. And I need to get some food. And he's like, "What do you need? What do you need?" And he's like, "I don't know." And he's like, "What do you got? Like pocket change or anything like that?" He's like, "Yeah, man, of course." He like whips out this some cash, gives him the guy $20 and says, "Have a good night, man. I'll see you later." And then like keeps running with us. Wow. It's like, that's the difference. Wow. That's the difference. Like that's the kind of interrupt my life, pay attention, be present. Who's suffering in front of you that you're not willing to look at, pay attention to, and just step right over in order to just keep continuing on with your life. And that was such a lesson for me to just breathe, man, be present, help people, be a good person, because maybe that homeless person, who knows, maybe the guy went and blew it on drugs or blew it on booze. Who knows what he did with it, but who cares? Right? Who cares? It's that guy's life. He needed some help. He was down, and help pick him up a little bit. Maybe he did. Maybe he checked into like a motel where he can sleep and got a hot meal and had an amazing night. It was like, that guy who gave me $20 was like the best person I've met in a year. Yeah. Yeah. And man, who knows? It's just this is kind of, you get to be the person you want to be.
This is perfect. Perfect segue, because today's theme is choices and paradigms, right? Yeah. Like, so this power of choice. this power of choice. Like, we're not defined as anything. We're not stuck with anything. We're not stuck with the weight. We're not stuck with being crappy at business forever. Like, tell us about how you empower your clients, or how your mindset about like not being burdened by circumstances or excuses, and being able to step into a whole new paradigm, a whole new reality.
The whole new reality is not a whole new reality. The whole new reality is just inside your brain. It's the way that you choose to, it's what you choose to believe.
Right.
If you believe that you are incapable, not smart enough, damaged, unlovable, just, fat forever. If you believe this about yourself, it's true. As long as you believe it, right? Well, was it Ford who said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yep.
That's the God honest truth. And and it really, all of the great thinkers, all of the most successful people in the world, they just say, I'm no smarter than anybody. Like, I'm not the smartest person ever. I just believed I can do this, and I just didn't doubt myself, And that is the reality. Now, that's not like, you and I know this logically. We know this up here, right? But we all have insecurities. Right. We all have this, this kind of belief that maybe we're just not cut out for this. Maybe I'm just not smart enough. We all have that tendency. It's just a matter of when that voice comes up, when that tape that's consistently running in the background comes up, and the volume gets turned up a little bit. Are you capable of pausing, being present, stopping on the street to help somebody, be present, right? But then for yourself, pause, be present, stop pushing forward, stop trying to continue to do, stop, breathe. Why am I having this conversation with myself? Why am I doing this? What am I doing to myself right now? I'm destroying myself. I'm the only person who has all of this information. I'm the only person in the world that has every negative piece of information about me, and I'm using it to destroy myself right now. Why am I doing that? And so, are you willing to have that conversation? And unless you're willing to have that conversation and then say, okay, this is not true. This is not reality. This is not who I am. I've done so many great things in my life that, like, this actually, if I add all of that up, that adds up to a way different person than I'm trying to tell myself I am right now. So how do I interrupt that? That's the secret. So this is what I work with. I call it negative thought interruption, right? It's like, how do I stop that thought process in its tracks, right? It's going to continue to come up. It's always going to continue to come up. That's the reality of our own personal, audio tape that's playing. It's always going to be, sometimes volume gets turned up based on information that comes in. We like ramp that up and go, I suck, I suck. And then it's like, wait, how do I turn that back down? How do I have that conversation with myself and interrupt that spiraling out of control that could send people into a depression for weeks, months, who knows how long, depending on how severe that information that just came at us, how severe it was, whether it's someone passing away, whether it's losing a job. And then we start creating this world around us that we are not good people. We are not good parents, or we're not good children and daughters and sons and employees, or, entrepreneurs, or whatever it is, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, whatever it is. We create that story for ourselves that we're not good enough. We're not the best. Who cares? We don't have to be. Nobody has to be the best. You just have to be the best version of yourself. As long as you're trying at that, you're good, And so that's the conversation I'll have with my clients. And whether or not that sinks in immediately, sometimes it's easy to take that with you and hold on to it for days, weeks, months. But then sometimes you lose it an hour later.
Yep.
And then you need to remind it. And then you need to, but then that's why having internal conversations, going to see a therapist, right? Going to having conversations with very, very close friends, and being open and honest about what you're struggling with. And then allowing that to continue to come out of you. So this way it's not buried inside and you're trying to hide it. It's there, it's open. You're completely open with yourself. The more it's out there, the more you can realize, wow, I'm just running this story over and over and over, and I'm not getting anywhere in my life because this thing is holding me back. And the reality of it is, there's nothing stopping.
So
there's nothing in my life.
When you're working with your clients and you're working on shifting their paradigm. How do you get them to see that value in themselves? How do you get them to say, you know what, I'm freaking worth it, and what I'm going for, I can achieve that. That is possible.
Well, I'm good at one of the things that I think I excel at is I'm good at holding up the mirror. Right. So you and I have a conversation, right? And I say, okay, Chris, so here's what you're telling me, and tell me if I'm wrong. And then I repeat back all the things that you told me. And I say, and then I basically put the pieces together and I say, well, does that make sense that with all this other information that I've gathered from previous sessions or from other times and other conversations that we've had, that isn't necessarily true. And maybe it's coming from this, and this in the past, right? I had a client who has a very, very, food is basically her comfort, right? And this is common for a lot of people, but it's always getting to the source of why you have that. Why do I have that? What's so comforting about food? What is it in my life that makes me feel comfortable? And her parents used to own a restaurant. And when she was a kid, every day after school, she would go to the restaurant and do her homework and stay at the restaurant for the last like 3-4 hours until they got out of work at like 5 or 6 o'clock. And so every day they just put food in front of her. That's how they took care of her. They took care of her with food. So she would come to the restaurant and here's some food. And this is how my parents showed me love. They gave me food. And this is how I did that. And then she was in that booth all by herself for 3-4 hours every day.
Wow.
Every day with food, just hanging out. And so this is the relationship she had. So that was comforting to her. And so now when she's stressed, when she's happy, when she's, when she's getting really angry or upset, her food is her comfort. Right. So it's like, why is that coming into play right now, and really isolating where that comes from so you can understand, wait, I don't need food right now to feel better. It doesn't make me feel better because most of the time I'm eating cheeseburgers and French fries. And in the moment I feel comforted, but then I'm like 10 minutes later, I'm like pissed at myself, I'm disgusted. And I don't want to, I wish I never did that. Right. Because you're not taking care of yourself in the moment, because you're not interrupting that, whatever that negative thought is, or positive thought. Sometimes it's a positive thought. Like I want to celebrate with ice cream, whatever it is. Like, wait a second, how am I going to feel after I do that? If I'm going to feel terrible, then if I do that now and decide to do that, am I taking care of myself? And so it's really about making all the connections, connecting all the dots. And that's what I help my clients do, is really connect those dots, because if they don't, then you're just floundering, in life. And that's just, you're just never getting anywhere. And sometimes it's not about, nutrition plans, which I'm fine helping people put together a nutrition plan. It's not about working out. I'm fine helping people put together workout plans. That's usually the smallest piece of the puzzle. The biggest piece of the puzzle is how you're getting your own way, and how do you stop that?
Yeah. And with the why, with that why is what drives us towards the vision, right? It's a part of our paradigm. Why we only do things because we think that we're either going to get pleasure because of achieving it, or there's going to be pain because of not achieving it. Or achieving the opposite of it, or whatever. Right. So I'm curious, do you feel that people need to have a ridiculously strong why to succeed at their goals? Like, is that a requirement, or can they just jump in and go through the motions and succeed?
Well, they need to have a why. There needs to be a reason, right? You need to be tethered to something, right? So whether if you just decide I need to lose weight because I want to lose weight, it's not that strong. You're going to, and then you're like, well, I've been working at this for 3 weeks. It's not really working out.
I'm done.
I'm done. Like, it's not working out. Like, I don't want to do this, but it's like, but then, what happens with a lot of people, especially as we get older, because I'm 41 now, and I watch this happen with my dad. He had a heart attack at 55. It was 1995. I was 17 years old. And it's like, oh man, okay. I got to change some shit. Yeah. Like, if I don't change things right now, things are going to go south for me real fast. And so he made some changes. It wouldn't have been the changes I would recommend now at this point. It was more like 1995 recommendations with the doctors and the hospital nurses and stuff, the nutritionists. However, That's how most people make a change. They go to get a blood test at the doctor's office. You got diabetes. Congratulations, you're going to be on insulin for the rest of your life. It's like, wait a second, can I fix this? It's like, well, no, you're going to just take insulin. Oh, I got high cholesterol. Yeah, you're on statins for the rest of your life. Wait, can I fix this? No, you got to take statins. It's like the only time people start to change is when they realize I got to be on pills for the rest of my life. I got to inject myself for the rest of my life. I'm going to be, like, I'm going to, like, I have asthma, or I have a lot of the things that are coming up now for a lot of people is autoimmune disease. This is the big thing.
Yep.
And we're realizing that most of the stuff in our lives is caused by an like some kind of inflammatory response to the things that we're consuming. However, an inflammatory response might be acne. It might be just like a skin rash. It might be a foggy head. You might be tired in the middle of the day. And that's an inflammatory response that might be something you can deal with for 20, 30, 40 years. But then when you're 70 years old and all of a sudden now you have cancer, you're like, oh man, I should have paid attention to the writing. I should have paid attention to the writing on the wall, My grandmother just, recently got checked into a home because she has dementia. She can't remember 5 minutes ago. I haven't seen her in probably 6 months since the last time I saw her. She's very quickly degrading. And so she doesn't remember any of the grandkids. I don't even know if she remembers my sisters, her grandkids and her great grandkids, but she was always struggling with her weight. But the funny thing is every time she went to see the doctor, clean bowl of health. She was like, she couldn't wait to walk out of that doctor's office and the doctor would be like, you got nothing wrong with your heart. You got, your blood's looking good. You have everything's looking good. Yet she was always overweight. Wow. She was carrying around like 40 pounds of weight her entire life. If she drank milk, which she would do, and eat cheese on a regular basis, the woman would destroy the bathroom. Like this was always, and she drank milk almost 2 times, 3 times a week. She would have milk in her coffee. She would have continually have dairy. It's very gassy. My entire family is gassy. So obviously there was a lactose issue there. Her entire life, she would have bread and grains on a consistent basis. And all of that stuff is now linked to Alzheimer's and dementia. Yeah. And it could have been completely, avoidable. Yeah. Potentially. I mean, we don't know because we don't have that time frame, but we know that it's connected to inflammation, not only in the gut, which they call the second brain, and also our brain. We have inflammation in our brain. If you are foggy after eating a sandwich after lunch and you need to take a nap, you have inflammation. That is what that is. If you do need to take a nap after your sandwich or bagel or whatever it is, pasta that you eat, you're getting inflammation from that processed food. It's gluten or something in there is creating inflammation. I guarantee if you're eating a salad with like chicken or steak or whatever it is, or just like meat and vegetables, you probably feel fine, or just vegetables, you probably feel fine and don't need to take a nap after that. So people do not pay attention to this stuff. And so this is the thing that I try to isolate and identify when I work with people. And I think where it comes from, I think my real passion comes from the fact that I couldn't help my family and I can't. They like, my mom is still like going to Weight Watchers. My level of knowledge when it comes to nutrition and health is like, it's crazy. But, my mother, if she asks me questions, I'll give her advice and then she'll go to Weight Watchers the next week because it was too hard to do. I can't understand it, Rob. Your lifestyle is it's so much healthier. I don't know anybody that eats and lives their life like you. And it's like, yeah, because you come from a place, you live in a bubble, you don't expand out from there. And I think that's what when you realize it's not working inside your bubble, you need to go outside of that bubble. Yeah, for the help.
So how important is it to be open and ready to change, or at least like how do we adapt to change more effectively? Because when we make new choices and we're shifting our paradigm to get new results, that takes change and it takes getting uncomfortable. How do we become more adaptable and able to be uncomfortable?
That's a good question. Everybody has a different threshold. You have to understand that the process is the result. I have it written on my wall behind my computer. The process is the result, right? It was Aerosmith that put it in there. Life's a journey, not a destination. It's just a different way of saying it. You have to remember that you're on the road, right? In Malibu, there's the road to Hana, right? Hana is just the end, but it's just where the road ends. But it's called the road to Hana. You're supposed to experience the road. You have to be present, right? It's about when you set goals, what's your intention behind that goal? If my goal is to get to the top of the mountain, I want to hike to the top of the mountain. Do I want to enjoy the process, or do I just want to get to the top at all costs? I just want to reach the top and peak of that. And so what you do is you miss the flowers along the way. You miss the conversations that might have happened along the path. And then that is life. If you get to the top of that hill, right, you reach the goal, and you haven't given yourself time to really, you haven't given yourself the allowance to experience the process. You are going to miss out on 99% of the reason why you're doing it. Right. And so you'll get there, and you'll notice this. People talk about this all the time that are really, really wealthy. They get there, they have all this money, and their life is falling apart. They have their wife is divorcing them. Their kids hate them. They have no friends. They feel isolated. It's just, this is because you're only focusing on achieving the goal. You're not focusing on also experiencing the process of getting there. And so once you're open to that, then you realize, yes, change is uncomfortable. We all know that. It means that we're pushing up against our own personal limits, our own personal, comfortable kind of, I don't feel like this is the way that things are supposed to go, but I have to go with this because I know that if I don't let myself break out of this mold, I'm never going to get anywhere else.
Right.
And that it's completely necessary. It's not going to be the most fun, but as long as you understand that this process, the process is the result, and you are able to kind of find the joy in some of the things that you're doing every step of the way, then you're going to get there, and it won't be so unbelievably long and grueling.
Yeah, well, it's like the misery. Do you choose to hold on and focus to the misery and the suffering through the process, or do you choose to focus on, the change and the newness and the exciting, how you're always going to be evolving and growing? And since we're talking about paradigms, like you can literally, if you're listening right now, you can literally shift your paradigm, your identity, who you know yourself as, into someone who loves change, into someone who embraces the heck out of uncomfortability. And that's like that. You thrive on that. You thrive on being uncomfortable. You get an adrenaline rush when you challenge yourself and expand and get outside of your comfort zone. You literally can change your perspective on life to become that person. So you ultimately have the choice of how you show up in life, and that choice is power. So, Robert, let's begin to wrap it up, man. What are the final takeaways that we want our audience to receive because of this interview, man?
You mean in terms of what kind of wrap up the things we talked?
Yes.
I think, we have to touch on and just bullet point the process is the result. You have to accept that. It's, I'm the kind of person who leans in when I'm uncomfortable. I kind of push into the uncomfortability. If you're not that kind of person, just know that about yourself. So this way, when that uncomfortability comes up, you consciously have to make the decision. And if you are not willing to make that decision, like if you know that you will back off and retreat every time something uncomfortable comes up, that's your weakness. You need to find someone who's going to help you push through that. That's why hiring a coach, having a community that will do that, and be willing to ask for the help. You can't get anything in life unless you ask. Nobody's just going to nobody knows what's in your mind. That's a big lesson. People don't know you're upset. People don't know you're suffering unless you tell them you're suffering, and then they can help you. If you just say, well, that person should know that I'm upset with them. Why would they know? You didn't tell them. You just sucked it up and they pissed you off and you turned around, you walked away and they're like, and then the next thing you know, you're just 10 years later, you're still mad at that person and they had no idea what they did. So just be willing to just have that conversation. And if you need help doing that, hire a coach, hire a therapist, hire, a personal trainer, whatever it is that's your weakness, lean into that. And have somebody kind of walk you through that. I don't know if I have anything else in terms of awesome things to say, but it's just, life is not so complicated. It's really about being open with yourself and exploring. And if you do that, and if you're honest with yourself, then, Tony Robbins has this thing where you sign up for his, and I never did, and I never paid anything to Tony Robbins. So I'm just I just know that when I saw one of his coaching programs, and it was like this free giveaway thing. It's like figuring out what your weaknesses are. Uh-huh. And I just, that's what opened my eyes to that, going, you cannot know who to hire. You can't know who to ask for help from. There's so much stuff that you can improve your life by isolating the things that you know you're not good at. You know, like if you know that you're not good at self-motivation, you need somebody to help motivate you. If you know you're not somebody who knows how to start a business, you need to hire a business coach. If you know, it's like everything in life. If you're not good at it, you need a coach. Like, there's no Olympic skater or athlete who doesn't have a coach. There's nobody that's a lawyer that didn't go to law school. You need to learn how to do this stuff. And if you think you're going to learn it by just looking it up on the internet, good luck. Really, unless you have, then some people have done it. Some people can. Totally. They can look up all that stuff. They can digest all the information. They can spit it out in this amazing manifesto. But most of us can't. Yeah. And so you have to understand that about yourself. And then you can, and only then can you make a change.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Rob, how do people stay connected with you, and what do we want them to do next, brother?
Well, if you want to stay connected, I have a podcast, the Open Sky Fitness Podcast. My wife is my co-host. We host every Tuesday. We have an episode come out. We do interviews just like this, but we also do a content show every other week, which is just us talking about topics around health and fitness and nutrition and lifestyle and all that great stuff in order to really help people take their wellness to the next level. But if you want to join that community, we're actually starting up the Open Sky Fitness the SkyFit Challenge, which is an 8-week body weight, no more than 20-minute workout a day program where the community is just like, they're crushing it right now. Right now, we're coming up on the tail end of the most recent SkyFit Challenge. We have people who in 6 weeks, we've not even finished. Yeah, we're not even finished with the 6 week, have lost like 17 pounds. Last time we had somebody lose 30 pounds in 8 weeks, which is phenomenal. And it really is about implementing all of these changes, kind of these thought processes that we've talked about, and having a community support along the way. And the way to find out more information about that, you can go to openskyfitness.com/challenge for all the details. You can see before and after pictures. You can see a testimonial video. You can see all that info there. It's openskyfitness.com/challenge. Okay. So that's basically what we're doing right now. If people want to reach out and do one-on-one coaching, I'm happy to have that discussion. I love doing that. I love helping people, especially online. It's not like, hey, watch me do shoulder press. It's more like, hey, let's break down what's going on with you. How do we create a structure that works for your lifestyle that's going to help you get to where you want to be? And that is the way that I like to work. And I think that's the most effective way to work to keep people with longevity in their health. So openskyfitness.com for basic information, openskyfitness.com/challenge for the group thing. So awesome. That's it. That's my thing. Everything in terms of social media is just Open Sky Fitness. So at Open Sky Fitness on all the social platforms if you want to check that stuff out too.
Love it. Everyone, definitely follow this man. You are so fiery and just spitting the wisdom, the gold,
There's spit all over my computer right now.
It's perfect, man. Spitting, flowing, releasing, generating, all of it, man. You're a rock star. Rob, thank you so much for coming on today. I pray that you and Devon have a healthy family for decades and possibly centuries to come. Who knows how long you're going to live with all these fitness practices that you're doing.
120. I'm looking for
That's
120.
right. Yes. Let's go, baby. All the way, man.
That's right.
Rob, you're a champion. Keep it up, man. And we'll see
Chris,
you soon, okay?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was awesome. I hope that you guys got as much value out of this as I hope. This was a lot of fun. So thank you.
Definitely. Thanks, Rob. We'll see you soon, okay?
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Take care.